Hey y'all, Samwise here, and I'm excited to share with you about this month's herb of the month, which is burdock. And I have some burdock here that we got from the international market in Columbus, Ohio. And it is big. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Ah. It is a food. It's edible. It has a lot of inulin, which is like a prebiotic, which is a kind of substance that the beneficial gut flora in your body, in your intestines, really likes to chew on and needs to chew on in order to release beneficial neurotransmitters and like other things that our body needs to function well. So I'm here in my backyard here in Amesville. And yeah, excited to talk with you a little bit about the medicinal use of burdock and a little bit about the energetic use. And I want to introduce you to, we have it growing right outside of our porch. Here's a porch. And then here's burdock, which will make these burrs. They're like this big, the seeds. And that they have little hooks on them, and it's what Velcro was inspired by. They're very sticky. They will definitely ride on your cat and get in your house. They will ride on your pants and get in your house. Sometimes your lover will collect them and put them in the house because they know how much you don't like them in the house because they just get on everything. But yeah, so I mean, burdock is an amazing plant. We use it all the time here. It's one of the staples of my apothecary. It's very grounding. It's very energetically grounding, and it's very nutritious. And yeah, it's what's called an alterative, which in the herb world means it is a plant that helps your whole system find healing, and in particular support the liver and the digestive system, which of course supports all the other systems in our body, right? So yeah, I want to share a little bit more with you from my notes about this plant. It's a bitter, right? So that's gonna be stimulating to the liver. It is really indicated in skin conditions that are like dry and scaly, so like psoriasis, eczema, things where you need to heal from the inside out. Like just putting salve on eczema isn't going to work all the time, right? It's not going to solve the issue at its root, which is definitely what this plant is about, is getting to the root of things. So particularly because we use the root and because it's so big. So yeah, it helps with bile secretion too. So bile is the substance that our gallbladder makes that breaks up fats. It's actually made of fat also, you know, spoiler alert. But yeah, so it helps our kidney function. It helps our like our overall digestive and intestine function. David Hoffman, our friend who wrote the book Medical Herbalism, writes about it as it moves the body to a state of integration and health, and improving indications of systemic imbalance. So on like a cellular level, it's helping with balance, and on an energetic level, it's helping with balance as well. It also has indications for support with people working with cancer. There's a couple of studies that look at how it protects against mutagenicity, which is like preventing the mutation of the cells and the cell DNA. And it's in a lot of like really old anti-cancer formulas. And again, it's a very nutritive tonic. So that means it's kind of good to take over long periods of time. And it's building and also cleansing, but generally considered very safe to use over long periods of time if, you know, it works for your body. Yeah, it's also cooling. In general, it's a little bit drying. It likes to move moisture around, but overall it's a little bit drying. And Tilgner, who wrote Herbal Medicine at the Heart of the Earth, writes about it as a ball of energy that flies through your body, opening up channels of energy, which is really interesting. I don't experience it as like I mean, the seeds are supposed to be very, very moving, and I don't tend to use the seeds as medicine. I use the root. We eat it, we put it in oxymol, and I'll do another video about how to make an oxymol in a week or so. And, or sooner, since we have this root. But I do experience it as like gently moving and gently grounding, for sure. And yeah, I love this idea of like unblocking energy channels, because a lot of the flower essence descriptions of burdock talk about it as moving like stuck emotions, like old anger, old resentment, old grief, old sadness. Sometimes those things are really like intertwined with each other. And in that way kind of gets at the core of what's needing to be released and cleansed, which is a lot of what this plant does on a physical level as well, since it's a liver plant and helps the liver kind of move old stuck like congestion or stagnation in a gentle way. It's also antibacterial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory, and diuretic, so it makes you pee a little bit. Not a lot, but like a little bit. The seeds are more about, have a stronger diuretic function. And yeah, it's really interesting to learn about how it is an anti-inflammatory, because it, yeah, again, promotes this like circulation and release of histamines and other like cellular markers that would upregulate inflammation. So it helps release that and bring it down. So in that way, it's really helpful for people who have leaky gut syndrome. Got a motorcycle. Which is kind of like either autoimmune or allergic reaction inside the gut lining that where folks are experiencing kind of chronic inflammation, which makes the tissues of the gut kind of more porous than they should be. So stuff that we shouldn't be taking into our system gets into our system and then causes all sorts of problems. So the burdock helps downregulate some of that inflammation, helps give the biota the food that it wants to chew on, and gently helps like close these perforations in the gut lining. Somebody talks about that as combining with a particular one. I'll find it later. Yeah, so again, folks talk about it as escorting gut toxins out of the body via water-soluble fibers. It promotes circulation. It's an antioxidant. Again, that has that like lowering inflammation by binding to things that cause our cells inflammation. It's used for candida, so like if there's like too much fungus in your system, it can help balance out the environment so that the candida doesn't thrive as well. There's a bug. It is good for arthritis, sciatica, and kidney stones, as well as, I think mostly kidney stones is what I read about it. I'm looking at my notes. Especially if you combine that with corn silk. There's some stuff in the literature about burdock and corn silk as being helpful for releasing the calculi, or like the very small stones for kidney stones. It is cardiovascular protectant, and it again is like a great balancer of our guts and also our emotions, of which those are really closely tied. And yeah, just doing a little research about the flower essence, folks talk about it as like helping to release old anger, old stuck emotions, which is nice because, you know, it is spring. It is spring in Ohio. It hasn't snowed in a while. Knock on all the things. And yeah, like spring is a great time to support your liver of that may have been, you know, holding on to stuff during the winter. And then the energy of spring, right, is like this great like pushing up and outwards, that which has been dormant for a while. And then in the case of burdock, this pushing down with the root and breaking up like soil and compacted soil and the stagnancy and the hardness of winter. So there's very like up and out and down and through energy, which can be really helpful for just creating new patterns and yeah, finding new ways to do things. And I find in the spring, some folks are like, you know, sensitive to the big Aries, like up and out energy of spring. And something like burdock can be really grounding when, like, you know, the energy of the world around you is starting to pick up. Sometimes that can be a little destabilizing and be like, oh shit, like now we have to do more things. And that can be stressful, but something like burdock can kind of help us stay grounded and connected while there's change happening. So, yeah, that's really how we use it a lot in this household is, that grounding, that connectedness, but also that movement at the same time. So, yeah, we use it a lot in Oxmal, but it's great food. So if you have any fun burdock recipes, I'd love to hear about them. Tracy Brieger, one of my teachers at Ancestral Apothecary, gave us a great recipe for burdock that I have since lost. So I might have to reach back out and see if she still has it. But yeah, share any of your burdock recipes if you care to share it. This big burdock here that we have from the market, in the stores, it's called gobo, which I think is Japanese, but I'll have to double check that. But yeah, so I'd love to hear about y'all's relationship with burdock. It's a simple, humble plant, but in like all simple, humble plants, it has a great depth and a great complexity as well. So yeah, it's one of those that's like common, but really powerful. So if you have a great story about burdock, I'd love to hear it. You can put it in the comments or send me a message, and we can share some burdock love together. All right, that's it. Thanks for listening and watching, and thank you so much to my patrons. I really appreciate so much all the journey that we've been on together. And yeah, thank you so much for supporting this work as it shifts and changes and folds and evolves. So I appreciate you very much, and I'll talk to you next time.